Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Arva Rice. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the interim chair of the Civilian Complaint Review Board. I would like to call the CCRB's July Public Board meeting to order. Would the rest of the board please introduce themselves, starting with Mr. Siegel?
Good evening. My name's John Siegel. I'm one of the mayoral designees on the board.
Good evening. My name is Michael Rivadeneira. I am one of the City Council designees, specifically the Bronx designee to the board.
Good evening. My name is Herman Merritt, City Council designee from Brooklyn.
Good evening. My name is Esmeralda Simmons. I'm the Public Advocates designee to the board. I'm from Bed-Stuy.
Good evening, A.U. Hogan, City Council designee, right here, Southeast Queens.
My name's John Darsh. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the executive director of the agency.
I'm June Northern. I'm a marital appointee from Brooklyn.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Jamat. I'm a mayoral appointee from Queens.
Good evening. I'm Frank Dwyer. I'm a police commissioner designee.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Puma. I go by he, him pronouns. I'm the City Council designee on the board from Manhattan, and it's great to be here in Queens, and thank you for coming out here on a hot July evening.
Indeed. Do we have anyone on the line?
Yes, good evening. I'm Charlene Brown, Police Commissioner Designee, and I am from the Borough of Queens.
Terrific. Thank you, Charlene. I would like to ask for a motion to approve the May board meeting minutes. I'm sorry. Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes in May? All right, so moved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sorry. Can I get a second?
A second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. I'd also like to ask for a motion to approve the June minutes, but are there any changes or corrections to the minutes for June? Any changes or corrections to the June minutes? Okay, can I have a motion? A second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The minutes are approved as presented. I wanted to start this meeting by remembering Eric Gardner and Delron Smalls. Eric Gardner was killed on July 17th, 9 years ago. The tragedy of Mr. Gardner's death and the failure to hold Officer Daniel Pantaleo accountable shook New Yorkers. It also highlighted the great importance of the CCRB. After Pantaleo was cleared by the Staten Island DA and NYPD, it was the CCRB that found misconduct and took Pantaleo to trial that resulted in his firing. Delron Smalls was killed on July 4th, 2016 by Officer Wayne Isaacs. Officer Isaacs was similarly cleared in criminal court and by the NYPD and has continued working on the force for the last 7 years. The CCRB received the case in May 2018, and in October 2020, this board found Officer Isaacs had committed misconduct. However, this trial has been held up for 2 years because the CCRB cannot access the sealed evidence from Officer Isaacs' criminal trial. Sealing statutes currently prevent the CCRB from obtaining sealed records. We filed a motion to access these records in October 2021. And in March of this year, the judge granted our motion. Unfortunately, Officer Isaacs appealed this decision, and we once again are at a standstill. Barring the CCRB from access to evidence is preventing accountability. There are 2 bills in Albany right now that would exempt CCRB from sealing statutes and allow us to access key evidence without delays. We hope legislators will support these bills. Mr. Small's family has been seeking justice for over 7 years now and has the right to have this case move forward swiftly. I want to remind people that this is why we are here. The CCRB is a resource for New Yorkers who feel that they have been mistreated by the NYPD. We are fully independent, and even if other entities did not take action, we review each case in a fair and objective manner. We are here to make New York City safer for everyone by addressing individual cases and patterns of misconduct within the NYPD. I would like to thank the administration and the City Council for recognizing the importance of the CCRB by retracting the proposed cuts to our budget and giving us additional funding. We have now received the resources and the data needed to investigate racial profiling and bias-based policing. Yet we don't hold our work to hold officers accountable unless you, the people of New York, file complaints when you have experienced misconduct. It is so important to keep a record of officer misconduct, and accountability will work towards preventing future misconduct. Part of the reason we are here in Queens today is to come to your community and make it easier for you to share your experiences and file complaints. Every other month, we hold our board meetings in a different borough. I want to thank the Robert Ross Johnson Family Life Center for partnering with us and being our host this evening. Special thanks to the center's director, Monica Fisher, and the St. Albans Congregational Church's senior pastor, Eli Watson. I would also like to take a moment to thank board member Michael Rivadeneira for serving on this board for the past 5.5 years. As the Bronx representative appointed by the City Council, Michael has served all New Yorkers and been a diligent and hardworking member of this board. He was instrumental in reviewing the 2020 protest cases, which included the largest number and some of the most complicated cases to come through this agency. Thank you for all of your time, your effort, and your service to the city. We wish you well in your next chapter. I will now pass it off to Executive Director Jonathan Darsh, who will give you more details on our current budget and how to file a complaint.
Thank you, Chair Rice. As the chair mentioned, the administration and City Council restored the proposed cuts to our budget and actually added $970,000 to our personnel services budget. This will enable us to continue the new work that we were assigned of investigating complaints of racial profiling, but also the work that the city had previously entrusted us with, doing investigations into force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, and offensive language, and also administratively prosecuting substantiated cases in those allegations. Before we get started this afternoon, some quick updates on agency operations. Our office is open to walk-in complaints, but it is also possible to file complaints online at nyc.gov/CCRB complaint. You can call us by telephone at 1-800-341-2272. If you call 311 and tell the operator that you wish to make a complaint against a member of the NYPD, they will make sure that we get that complaint. And if anyone wishes to file a complaint right now, we have investigators on here. We have investigators here and ready to take your complaints now. Emma and Daniel, can you stand up? They may have already started taking a complaint, but they are definitely here today. And we also have someone from our civilian assistance unit, Shania Gopal, here as well. Just some ground rules. We're going to keep comments to 4 minutes per person speaking, whether you are here or joining us online. If you're joining us online and wish to speak, please use the raise your hand function. I want to thank the staff for their hard work in setting this up here today. And I want to thank my neighbors, because I'm a North Queens resident, but I was telling Mr. Jamat, it was fun to drive here from my house through my old neighborhood on the way here. And it's good to be in Queens.
Okay, thank you so much, John. Does anyone have any questions of our executive director? Any questions? Okay, so at this time, we will have a report from our Director of Outreach, Jahai Rose.
Everyone, My name is Jahai Rose. I go by he, him pronouns. I'm the Director of Outreach for the Civilian Complaint Review Board. So the Civilian Complaint Review Board is a city agency. We are the largest independent oversight entity over the largest police force in the country. And the CCRB investigates, mediates, and in some cases administratively prosecutes allegations of police misconduct. The agency is governed by a 15-member board, many of which you've met here today. 5 are appointed by the New York City Mayor, 5 are appointed by the New York City Council, 3 are designated by the Police Commissioner, 1 is appointed by the Public Advocate, and the chair is jointly appointed by the City Council and the Mayor. The CCRB investigates allegations of police misconduct. Helpful way to remember our jurisdiction is fatal. That's force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, and offensive language. Just a few facts about the Right to Know Act. The Right to Know Act went into effect in October of 2018. The Right to Know Act includes 4 different components. One including, under certain circumstances, officers should be identifying themselves by providing their name and such information like their badge number, rank, command, or shield number. With some exceptions, officers should be explaining the reason for the encounter or the interaction. Officers should inform you of your, under certain circumstances, officers should inform you of your right to say no when requesting consent to search your person, property, and/or vehicle or home. Officers, under certain circumstances, should also offer business cards. The business cards inform an individual about the identity of the officer and how to file a comment and/or complaint about the interaction between you and that officer. You could request these business cards in any encounter. This is a copy of what the business card looks like. If you see misconduct, you can feel free to report that misconduct online, as mentioned by our Executive Director, John Darsh, at nyc.gov/CCRB complaint, or you can call the CCRB's hotline at 1-800-341-CCRB or 1-800-341-2272. If you see footage of misconduct, either on social media or on the news, you could feel free to file a complaint. Even if you are not there in person. Typical handle for the CCRB is CCRB_NYC. The ways to file a complaint with the Civilian Complaint Review Board include calling 311, the city's favorite number. You could also visit the CCRB at our Lower Manhattan office at our headquarters at 100 Church Street, and that's 100 Church Street on the 10th floor. You could also direct message or DM the CCRB at our social media platforms, which include Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As mentioned, typical handle CCRB_NYC. You could also send a letter to the CCRB via mail at 100 Church Street, New York, 10th floor, zip code 10007. You can file a complaint about police misconduct with a local police precinct. It does not have to be the precinct where the interaction took place. Officers are required to accept those complaints at the precinct. They could also offer you or provide you with a complaint form and a self-addressed envelope. If you'd like a presentation for your neighborhood, for your family, for a community organization, really anyone, any group, feel free to contact the CCRB's outreach unit. Email us at outreach@ccrb.nyc.gov, or you could also feel free to follow us on our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you, Chair Rice.
Do the board members have any questions of Mr. Rose?
I had,
Mhm.
so, first, I would just like to tell the folks here today that you have an additional way of filing a complaint because your assembly member has a link to our complaint form on his website. So thank you very much, Assembly member, for having that link there. And then could you tell us a little about the courtside program?
So the CCRB does what's called unconventional outreach. So we go to local basketball courts, handball courts, football fields, any real recreational space, and we conduct outreach to young people on basketball courts. I myself sometimes may even get into the game just to get connected with people that are playing. But nonetheless, we want to connect with your young people. We want to connect with people, period. So we would do CCRB courtside at any basketball tournament, any event, and we also speak directly to basketball teams, sports, and/or sports clubs.
Terrific. Thank you so much for that. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much, Jahai.
you.
Appreciate you. All right, we're going to hear from some members of the community, but before we do that, we did already mention Assemblymember Anderson. So Assemblymember Khalil Anderson, if you would join and please provide some remarks for the group. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, good afternoon to the board. Let me just take a moment to thank you all for your public service as members of the CCRB. My name is Khalil Anderson, for those who don't know who I am, and I represent the 31st Assembly District in Southeast Queens, which includes the neighborhoods of Rosedale, Springfield Gardens, South Ozone Park, the Rockaways, and South Richmond Hill. I'm so grateful to be here this evening just to bring some brief remarks. As the chair already mentioned, it's important that you all know, if you head on over to my Assembly website, there's a number of different resources that you can obtain, one of which is being able to go right to our website and file a CCRB complaint right on my Assembly website, which is great. So this is its own little dedicated button. You can't miss it. So really excited about that. We rolled that out last year. We are in the midst of our summer mobile office hours. That's why I'm dressed down today, because I've been out in the streets connecting with the residents of the district and just updating them on what we've been working on in Albany as it relates to everything from housing to police accountability and more. So we're really excited to be back in the district. And I also want to mention one other thing on the subject matter of police accountability. I want the folks, the residents who are here today, to know that we do not have to sacrifice or have a false dichotomy between community safety and making sure that we hold our police officers accountable. In my role as a member of the Assembly, I've interviewed and had conversations with all of my police captains and had conversations about their CCRB records and just reports and things of that nature with all of my captains, and including the new parts of my districts that I'm getting ready to inherit, having conversations with those captains as well. It's very important that we have open dialogue with our police. We have open dialogue with them, everyone from the top all the way down to the beat officer, which is really important. It's also important that statistically crime increases in the summer. It's important to acknowledge that. But citywide right now, crime is down, including in one of my highest crime precincts, which is in the 101st. And that doesn't happen by just police, but it's really making sure that we have community involved in what's called community safety. It's not just a police responsibility. We have our Cure Violence folks, some of which I see here, Life Camp. You guys do an incredible job. We also have folks in our district, Rock Safe Streets, other entities that do really good work, King of Kings Foundation, just to name some of the few, that do incredible work to help keep our streets and our families safe. So I just want to bring those brief remarks, and I will see you all in the streets at one of my mobile summer office hours every Wednesday from 3:30 to 5. We're either knocking on your door or we're right on the main thoroughfare. Next week, I think we're going to be on Garbrew and Farmers in the district. So looking forward to the work that you guys continue to do, and let's continue to work in collaboration for true community safety. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Assemblyman. We are now going to hear from some other local community leaders. Thank you so much for joining us. And as a reminder, we ask you to please keep your comments to 4 minutes. So Yahira, would you please call on the first speaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, we'll be hearing from Reverend Thorbs, chairperson from Queens Community Board 12.
This is very quick. I am the chairperson for Community Board 12, 400,000 people, 36 different languages. I'm sure we have more languages than that now. And a retired New York City police officer. So CCRB is very important. It's very important for civilians to give them coverage and security, because there's nothing more telling than when you feel as a citizen you have no recourse, no person to go to, especially when the police are policing themselves. I was given 3 topics to stay on course, and so I took the last one, which was, what can the city do to improve police community relations in your neighborhood? let me just start by saying this. I know I only have 4 minutes. Who you are in any job is based on your character. So if you're hiring someone that shows no character, their activity and their behavior is going to reflect that. That's something that's taught from home. And once we are seeing signs of that, they need to be corrected, brought back in, put back through training. And if you still see no changes, then they need to be removed. They do not need to stay in a community where they feel that they can be abusive. Ego plays a big part when you're carrying a shield and a gun. Ego is everything. But you have to have, again, it goes back to character. When I first came out on the street, my mother said to me as I walked out the door for my first night to go in Brooklyn, and I trained right here in this community under CPOP with Michelle Keller in the 113th precinct. As a college kid, I was a cadet wearing a uniform, standing on the corners of Sutphin Boulevard and being on Farmers Boulevard with her. The one thing my mother said to me when I walked out the door is, remember, you're a Christian first. So that means what she was saying to me is you treat everyone correctly no matter what. You have family, you have cousins, and this is the way we need to come to work. We're here to help, not to throw our weight around. There's two sides to every story. Things do happen, situations do get hot, and they do escalate. But we have to always remember, we have to take a step back and still remember that we're dealing with people always in a time of crisis. You're in a crisis, that's why we're here. We show up because you're going through things. And we are to bring peace to the situation or bring clarity, or if necessary, then it's time to lock somebody up. Somebody's got to go. But we also, during that training, you're a psychiatrist because you have to read between the lines and see everything that's going on. But you do not have the right to throw your weight around incorrectly. And so we need a CCRB to have more power, to be able to investigate, to open up records that need to be opened up, because you're going to see something that, there you go, you're going to see a path. You're going to see something that's been going on all along. I can call the names of officers that have been taken out of the police department because of their behavior. But had they looked back at what was going on in the first place, they would have seen it. What can we do better? The only thing that came to mind was mediation. Let's try something different. Let's have a mediation where now when an officer is charged about something, or there's someone is saying that there's an allegation that this is going on, or the officer talked disrespectfully, let's have mediation. It should be mandatory that they have to now face that person face to face. And now you tell your story and you listen to them tell their story, and let's see where it is. Because I guarantee you that story will change, or the understanding will change. I had a situation myself in February, and I had to stay calm and do what I knew that I had to do to protect myself, because I felt I was being threatened. I knew I was being threatened and how it could have escalated. Again, I think mediation is where we should go. That's something that should be on the table as a consideration, because when a person has to now face the person they abuse, it changes the whole character. No one's going to want to continue to do what they're doing, and now they have to sit in front of that person, in front of CCRB, and now explain yourself. Thank you.
Very much for your powerful words. And thank you for your service as both chair of Community Board 12 and as a police officer. I wanted to talk a little bit about the agency's mediation program. We've restarted it and rebooted it since the pandemic. And while I appreciate what the speaker just said about having mandatory mediation, we don't have mandatory mediation. We think the only way mediation is successful is if all the parties volunteer for the mediation. And so first when the civilian calls us and makes a complaint, we explain to them the different options and we explain to them what our mediation option is. And if they choose to have the case mediated, we then go to the department and see if they feel that the officer's an appropriate candidate for mediation. And then finally, we go to the officer themselves to see if they would like to mediate the case. Because we don't want to put a civilian in a situation where they're going to waste their time and come down and talk to an officer who is not interested in mediation. And so by having the mediation program be voluntary, we believe it is more effective. One of the things that we do now that is different from cases in the past is we now take the civilian statement about what happened before we attempt to mediate the case. And that means if the civilian is unhappy with the mediation process, the case can be fully investigated. And that way, a lot of times what would happen is people would try and go to mediate a case, the mediation would be unsuccessful. And because it had taken so long, there was no way to then turn around and do a successful investigation. And by setting strict time limits and making sure that everyone understands what is involved in the mediation process up front, we think we've created a better and more effective version of mediation. And I'm eager to see the results of these changes to our mediation process.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Yohaira, who is next on our list of speakers?
Next, we'll be hearing from Amira Ismail, a youth participant from the organization Malika, and she'll be joining us virtually.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amir Ismail. I'm a 17-year-old organizer in Queens, New York. I am an organizing and advocacy fellow with Malika. Malika is a small but mighty local organization, and we do a bunch of de-escalation trainings across the city along with worldwide. So that's just a little bit about Malika. We are based in Astoria, Queens on Steinway Street. So we often see a lot of situations where it could be de-escalated really quickly, and all of our trainers are trauma informed. And me personally, being a 17-year-old, but also being trauma informed, has really taught me how a lot of our city officials should be trauma informed, because then it just makes de-escalating a situation so much easier. So in terms of the NYPD and other city agencies, I believe that they should go through a clear set of trainings in order to deal with their community members in a way that's respectful to both parties. So at the end of the day, things get solved quickly, because we work a lot with the community. We work with domestic violence survivors and a bunch of other folks. And often day in and day out, there's just a lot of untrust in the community, which is unfortunate, but it just happens with generational trauma. And honestly, a way to work through that is to not only create better relations, but also see how the NYPD can make themselves better to the community and make the community appeal to them rather than stay away from them. On Steinway, on beginning of April, there was a shooting, unfortunately, and the street was flooded with police officers, and a lot of community members were not comfortable. Again, which is unfortunate. So we had a lot of folks coming to our offices asking us how it is, what happened, etc. So it's just building those community relations, along with when we're talking about de-escalation, as someone just said beforehand, we definitely need to make sure that these folks are trauma informed, and instead of just seeing a situation and walking away or going on their phones, to actually approach the situation not violently. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amira, for your comments. We appreciate them. John, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to thank Amira for the hard work she's doing in my neighborhood and also say that I, I agree with her about the need to use trauma-informed interview techniques. It's something that we've worked very hard to integrate into the CCRB. We send a lot of our folks to special training in trauma-informed interview techniques, but we've taken what we've learned from the people who've gone to that training and then come back to the agency, and we've integrated many of those lessons without violating any copyright rules. We've integrated them into our training so that all of our investigators are learning how to actively listen, how to engage with folks who have been traumatized. Like Amira said, sometimes it's generational trauma. Sometimes it's the trauma from the incident that led them to the encounter that brought them to the CCRB. And sometimes it's just trauma that has happened to them that we have to get through in order to find out what happened in the incident that brought them to the CCRB. So thank you for bringing up that point, Amira. I think it helped us get to something to explain to our partners here in the community.
Any other comments from the board? Okay. Yahira, can we hear from our next speaker?
Next, we'll be hearing from Joshua Kelly, a hospital responder with LifeCam.
All right, peace, everyone. My name is Joshua Kelly. I'm a hospital responder, employed with LifeCamp Inc. I'm a little nervous, not gonna lie to you. It's my first time speaking in front of a crowd of first time speaking in front of a crowd of this manner. I've been in this work for about 1.5 years now. I'm from the community. I grew up in Baisley housing, and I have to emphasize Baisley housing because a lot of people say projects, and I don't feel like it's a project. I feel like that's a negative stigma that people put on the community, and I don't think anybody grows up in any kind of project area, you know what I'm saying? Despite whatever stigma is set around that area. There's a couple questions that were asked that I should focus on, right? So with my experience with boots on the ground and in the community, what are some things that I consider that are issues with the police and the community relations, right? So first, I feel like the youth do not have enough information in regards to the CCRB in terms of how to contact people in any regards to information around this in general. Like there are a few young people that I see in the crowd at the moment. I feel like I'm among those young people. I'm 28 years old. I was unaware of anything in regards to the CCRB when I was in high school and college. This is all new information to me, So I feel like that's something that should be presented to the youth at an early age so they can get their grievances off, whether it be something minor, it could be a traffic infraction or just getting stopped on walking in the street, anything of regards to that, And I also feel that I don't know if anybody in this room has any idea in terms of how the hiring process is for police in our community. I don't know if anybody does. Okay, so I feel like there should be more police of our color, of our race. I don't want this to be a race thing, but I still feel like there should be a relatable amount of information going on with the youth, the adults, the police. It should be something that I can relate to in terms of police in our community. I don't want to make this a whole long-winded statement or anything like that. I wanted this to be pretty short. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got at the moment.
Thank you so much.
Joshua, could you tell us what a hospital responder is?
Yes. Oh, what is a hospital responder? Okay, so as a hospital responder, I respond to shootings within my catchment, even though I'm going to put quotes around that because I don't have a set area that I cover. We typically cover anything within Southeast Queens, whether it be a minor shooting, a major shooting. We just had a shooting the other day, the scooter shooter, if anybody's aware of that. We had 4 shootings within that day, within 4 different areas. I respond to the hospital. I speak with anybody in the area. I speak with family members. I try to provide them with any proper services or in the right direction of getting the proper need that they can get for that family member, whether it be, like I said, just being care in the hospital or setting up funeral arrangements. Unfortunately, that's something that we have to deal with on a daily basis. That's not the brightest part of my day, but it's something we all got to deal with, unfortunately. But just putting people in the right direction and providing them with any kind of care that we possibly can, whether it be something that's in my power or within another organization's power, I will point people in the right direction wherever I possibly can, to get the proper need that they need.
So I hope now that you've been to one of our board meetings, you will consider the CCRB in your toolkit, that you can point people to us if
Absolutely.
you think they need them. And we have a relatively small outreach team. We have an outreach team of 5 people. You met Jahai. We need your help, and we need all of your help to let people know that we're here and a resource for them. Because as the chair of Community Board 12 said, people need to know that there is someone they can go to voice their concerns, to say, hey, I wasn't treated the right way. And that's why we're here. And if people don't know about us, then we can't do the job.
Thank you. Appreciate you for your time.
And thank you. Thank you for the incredible work that you do. And thank you, John, for that question. Yeah, it's amazing work that you do. We will now enter the public comment portion of the meeting. If you are interested in making a public comment, if you could please line up behind the podium. People have already used the raise your hand feature, but just keep in mind that if we want you to keep your comments to 4 minutes or less. So the public portion comment. Yes, sister, if you can let us know who you are.
Janet Mays. I have a complaint against the 1 3rd precinct. Recently, we had an altercation with a menacing tenant in our building, and she came up at 6:50 in the morning with a hammer, or we could say a blunt object, and banged on our door. She put dents on the door. We called the police. The police came, took my statement, took our statement, and basically they said it was harassment. The problem with this situation is, she admitted what she did. We didn't understand why she wasn't arrested for anything, because now we don't have a way to protect ourselves, because since she didn't get arrested, we can't get an order of protection. My parents are elderly. My mother has a heart condition. I have 3 small children that live with me. I have fibromyalgia. Stress is a trigger for me. So literally all day this morning, I've been calling, trying to find ways of protecting my family from this menacing tenant. Mind you, these are the same tenants that attacked the super in January, where he was sent to the hospital with a fractured skull. We don't understand why this man has never been arrested. Even if the person may not have pressed charges, why they stopped looking for him. These are the same tenants that are now harassing my family. They're also harassing another tenant in the building. The same man that attacked the super approached her son. We don't understand why the precinct is not doing their job to help us in this situation.
Ms. Mays, for that comment. I have a further follow-up question on what the police's response has been to it. This is a little bit outside of our jurisdiction, but John, I wanted to see if you had any comment.
So, Ms. Mays, I'm going to ask that you give your information to one of our investigators. And I don't know, as the chair said, this doesn't fall in our jurisdiction in a neat way, but we will make some calls and try and get an answer for you, and at least have someone from the department call you back and explain what next steps are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One minute. Let's go to this.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Aaron Battle. I operate a barbershop, Urbane Barbershop and Beauty Spa, located on 12211 Guy Arborough Boulevard. I've been open for 14 months, my first business. And thank you. And so my good friend, Mr. Steve here, just informed me about this meeting, CCRB. I wasn't aware of it either, and he invited me to come out. A complaint that I have been expressing for some months now pertains to the smoke shop. Okay. So when I was a teenager, I used to smoke. I quit maybe 20 years ago, and I get it. However, the smoke shop, I take it that it's not licensed to sell marijuana, but marijuana is sold there. A lot of underage um, uh, smokers purchase or sold marijuana there. I observe it every day, and I can foresee an unfortunate circumstance transpiring. And I'll try to be concise about it, but I'm not sure who I should address about it in particular, in an effort to get it get some type of resolve, because inevitably there's going to be some sort of tragedy. All it takes is, because of what it attracts and how it's operated, one young fella come with a blue flag, the other one's got a red flag, and it's a conflict. It shouldn't take a candlelight vigil for it to be shut down, just to be frank. It's too late then, to come up there and protest and body slain. When I've been going to people, different organizations, I don't know where else to turn. So I'm hoping that voicing it here, and this is the first time I've done something like this, maybe someone can point me in a direction as to who I can speak with to get this operation shut down. You see, because it's been several months and I'm not sure what to do. So the barbershop that I have, my aim is to not only provide quality service, but when youngsters come in, I spark conversations about activities that lead to incarceration or the cemetery. Okay, the impact of gang affiliation and activity. That's my duty, because I want to be instrumental in breaking the cycle. So if there's anyone who could point me in a direction or aid and assist me, feel free to speak with me. I have a number, and I'm willing to do what it takes to intervene in the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell, for your comments, and congratulations on Mr. Battle. Mr. Battle on your
Battle.
Mr. Battle on your small business and on your entrepreneurship venture. I'm going to have John speak a little bit about who we can refer you to, but I know this has recently become an issue amongst City Council. In particular, City Councilwoman Gail Brewer has taken a lot of effort around this area, and so I'm sure that John can provide more concrete direction for you on next steps.
So this is an area that as marijuana was legalized, and the state's policy for setting up licenses lagged behind the demand for marijuana, you saw this growth of unlicensed marijuana shops in the city. The city seems to have put the sheriff's office in charge of enforcement, which is not in our jurisdiction, but Mr. Battle, someone is going to get your information, and we will reach out to the sheriff's office and make sure to connect you with them.
I hate for tragedy to occur.
I don't think your barbershop is the only business that is unfortunately near an unlicensed marijuana dispensary in this city. I think it's very, very common, and it's something that we're going to have to figure out a solution for going forward. So we'll at least be able to put you together with the right people.
Yes, please.
Can you hear me? Is that good? Okay, good. Good evening. My name is Venus Ketchum. I'm a community leader in education. I'm so excited for 4 minutes because usually with school board meetings, you have 2 minutes. So I just wanted to introduce myself as a community leader in education, a community education activist. My son David was here with me. He's 16 years old. We live 2 blocks away. He plays several sports, 3 sports at the varsity level. He's going to be a senior, and he plays basketball and is constantly looking for areas to play basketball in the community. I don't have any complaints. I want to follow up with what the young man said about not knowing about this meeting. I first heard about CCRB at a school board meeting. I think this year there was a woman that was a guest, but before that, I'd never heard of this. So there is an issue with communication in our community specifically that can't be put back on the community to communicate, right? Because most of them don't know about these meetings. Part of the role as an officer policing our communities can be to communicate the offerings and the services that your precinct and agencies provide. I often see police officers over by the Papa John's on Merrick Boulevard, close to the laundromat, and I see officers throughout the city, throughout Queens, patrolling or standing, but not engaging with our people and not engaging with our community. And like the young man said, there are not enough officers of color in communities of color. So there's a stigma with the youth specifically around who police officers are and what they do. So there's a hesitation to communicate. So I would encourage the adult, which is the officer, to shake hands with our teens. My son is a shake hand type of kid, so he will shake people's hands. But all of the officers he's come in contact with were Caucasian. The only person that I saw of African American descent was the Queen South deputy guy at a NAACP meeting or a Democratic Club meeting. But other than that, on the streets, I don't see Black officers. I don't see that many female officers. I do see some over by 40 houses, South Jamaica houses, but really creating an initiative to increase and improve communication, tone, race relations, so that officers know that it is your job to say hello. It is your job to ask, can I help you? Right? In patrolling the parks, it is, hey, what are y'all doing over there? Versus looking to arrest and criminalize our youth. So again, I didn't intend to speak. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm passionate about education. Somebody has to come to every single high school. Somebody has to come to every single PTA meeting. Somebody has to come to the school board meetings, CEC, consistently and regularly talking about this organization, because it's not happening and our youth are uninformed, which leads them to go to other places to seek comfort and belonging and a sense of empowerment at a smoke shop versus at a meeting like this. So I hope that we all tell our youth there's something happening here that's important. We want to hear your voice first and foremost. So thank you. I love having 4 minutes.
Thank you so much for introducing yourself and using your 4 minutes very well. Yes, we can have our next speaker.
I am Mr. Myers of the Pink Houses in Brooklyn, Housing Cop, NYC, me. Been retired 35 years. 20 on, 35 off, still doing the job. My question is very simple, and it's been addressed throughout night. Why don't police officers wear their hats? That is a sign of authority. When you step out, you got your shield, your help. The king doesn't need to go nowhere without his crown. First thing he's going to do is put his crown on, because everybody looks up at you. They don't look at your chest or your arm. That's what I see. And I'm a police officer. I still am. I see something, I say something. I'll step to it. I'm not afraid. Come too far. And as you can see, the color of my skin. I know about Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, and so forth and so on. All of them. But the police right now give me a bad name and make me look bad. I really don't want to be up to talking to you. I had planned something else, but you don't scare me. You are me. So how can I be scared, afraid of me? Scared of me too, also. No. Police officers wear their hat. Authority, they stand tall like I've always did. Pink Houses, Brooklyn. Mention Mr. Myers to a few people over there and see what they start talking about. You think I've been blind? No. Always told the truth. Educate, educate, educate. Frederick Douglass said that. I think I've said enough. I don't want to take up no more of your time. 2, 3, 4 minutes. I'm out. Peace. And officer? I signed a thing outside. It said, I'm busy. I'm busy with children, adults. They all want to look like me. Have a good night, all.
To the board and to everyone that's assembled here. Here, I have nothing on him. I only retired. I'm a retiree now, 6 years, after working 42 years for the city of New York. So I know about the CCRB, DCAS, Department of Finance, and DOB was my last hurrah, okay? Now, I come before you because I come before you as not only as a public person, but on behalf of my church, okay, and the neighborhood. We have some issues that are going on, and the noise with the dirt bikes that come through the neighborhood, they're doing wheelies or whatever you call it, and it's dangerous. The children are out there. Come on, God forbid a child runs. You cannot see a child with a car so high that weighs I don't know how many pounds, okay? The other thing is the noise. I hate to say it, which is true, I have a party place on the block. Party from Monday to Sunday, okay? I like music, I love it, I love to dance, but not every day. People have to work, the noise is ridiculous, people leave their bottles, et cetera, okay? The other thing is we need for the church on Sufton Boulevard, Rush Temple AME Zion Church, who I'm trying to speak on behalf of right now. We have other things going on, but the main thing, we need a stoplight at that corner of 120th Avenue and Sufton Boulevard, because there's like four-way traffic coming. I'm afraid that one day one of our parishioners or the children, or maybe any of you who are walking over there to Food World or wherever you're going, or to the apartment buildings that are across the street. The cars, it's crazy, it's horrible. So there needs to be a light there, hopefully. On my block, there can't be a light, there can't even be a speed bump, because when the Van Wyck Expressway is backed up, they use 144th Street to come zooming down. I do not leave my house until 10 o'clock, because at 6:30 I'm awoke by the noise of the traffic coming through. The last thing is the double parking. It's ridiculous. Cars are double and triple parked. Now, I don't know. Any of these things that I've mentioned, who? Is it 311? I've dialed 311, and I did get a quick response, which I was really surprised, because usually it said it'll be 4 or 5 hours before the police officers arrive, which I understand, because it's not a necessity. I don't want to say necessity, but it's not something that's high priority. Thank you for that, as they always say. But when I called 311, next thing I heard a voice on the phone, Miss, you complained? I said, yes, and we'll be there in a few minutes. Okay, that's great. But we need to keep this activity of things that are in the neighborhood going, because I said after retiring, okay, I'm here to work with whomever it is by any means necessary. And that gentleman over there that owns the barbershop, I'm one of his customers. I'm not trying to big up his business. He does good. I do need a haircut. Y'all looking now. I know. But the thing is, his word is his bond, and so is mine. We are here. We want to do something. This is our community, because we may not be here to see what's going to happen to our children. It's about the children. So let's give them something. It's generational wealth we got to deal with, and making sure that they're provided with to get what they have to do. So we want to keep y'all to the books and the grind of what y'all got to do, just like it's your responsibility to keep us to it. So I'm hoping and praying by God's almighty grace that something that's said here today will change or start the process of change, because we need a change. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Deborah Y. Walron, WALROND. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. You mentioned a couple of different issues, including the noise in the neighborhood and the double parking, and so there's a wide range of issues that you mentioned. And so we'll see if we can help to direct this way.
Right there, see right there?
Yes.
It is.
There
Well, I
you
just
go.
want to make
There
sure
you go.
and direct it to the appropriate party, because things are subject to change.
No, it's not gonna change.
It's not going to change. Okay, well, I'll be there. Right. Right. but I know we can't get one, not to cut you off. Yes. Oh, really? Oh, because I know the fire department has to come through. So we're thinking that maybe that's the reason why they won't put a speed bump there, because it's horrible. Right. So, we need help with that because you don't know. You really don't know. Seniors coming out, but really on that corner of 120th Avenue, it's on Sufton Boulevard, 120th Avenue, 119th Avenue, Dr. Eldris Gittens Way. We need.
There's a speaker right there.
Okay. The speaker? Okay.
The chief. Yes. Yeah. Representing the speaker.
I'm done.
Yes.
All right, look at that. Look at that. Make sure you remember where you got your answers at.
That's right. That's real.
Right here at the CCRB
Real.
meeting,
That's
y'all.
real. Yeah.
You witnessed it.
Yes.
Can we hear from our next sister? Yes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Trina Mitchell, and I am proud to be standing here as a CCRB mom. My son Christopher Mitchell served he was a founding member of the Youth Advisory Council to the CCRB. And so for the young leader in the building and the young people in the room and those listening, the CCRB does have active youth. They are very active. If you just type in the search engine, Civilian Complaint Review Board, Youth Advisory Council, you'll see.
If we can ask those folks who are having the conversation in the back of the room, if you all can step out for a second. Sorry.
It's okay.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mitchell. You are giving a powerful testimony. We wanted to make sure that you had our utmost attention. So
Thank
please
you.
carry
I
on.
appreciate it. So if you Google Civilian Complaint Review Board, Youth Advisory Council, that big, bright, beautiful face that you'll see in the middle is Chris Mitchell. That's my son, Barack Obama reloaded. And and the Youth Advisory Council is something that I would encourage any young person looking to make a difference, looking to have your voice heard, to stand out, to be seen, supported, and recognized, and to be a representative for your community, to reach out to the CCRB and join the Youth Advisory Council. It's powerful. I attended because he was the youngest member of the CCRB Youth Advisory Council. I was there at their inaugural youth conference that they hosted at NYU, where youth were speaking out, and they were phenomenal and they were fearless. And I felt that from you up here as a young leader, and your voice is needed. And so I love the fact that the CCRB is taking it on the road. I didn't know that that you come to different boroughs to have this tour. And I think that I love this idea, and I love that it will continue. And I hope that the youth that can hear me now will type it in your search engine, will go out and be a part of this and connect, because we need you. One thing that what you said, what can we do better? One thing I noticed, just pivoting a little, when I get off the subway and I get to Jamaica Avenue and I see the young police officers, because usually they're fresh out of the academy, put on foot posts. What I see in my community, because I know there's supposed to be community policing, is fear. When I look in their faces, they're so young, they're babies, and they're put out, and they're usually policing a community that they don't frequent, they don't shop in, they don't live in, they don't know anybody here, they don't visit. And so what I would offer, what I would hope there would be, is that there would be more engagement with that before you throw them in an undesirable, because somebody with seniority doesn't want the foot post. What I would hope is that you take those same young people and put them in positions where they are in the Youth Police Academy camp, because there is one in every borough. I have 2 boys, and my youngest son is there every day during the summer, Monday through Friday. They're hosted in a local public school, and you have your local police men and women as counselors in a camp, training these young people in all 5 boroughs to just like in self-defense. A lot of them have been bullies. A few in his school were bullies, and an incredible sergeant came and spoke at the school to start a mediation program and bring those kids in. And so instead of demonizing the bully, he stood up and like, let's make you a leader because you use it in a negative way. So those are ways that the kids are seeing, rather than seeing the officer and being angry, because we can turn on the TV and see people dying that look like me or look like them at the hands of police officers. And now trust is being built. So if those same scared police officers that we see fresh out of the academy on those undesirable foot posts are now put in the Youth Police Academy, training the young people in the community, now trust is being built. And if you put them in the school programs to mediate during the school year, and then if you put them in front of adults in self-defense classes hosted at a local Y, or I don't know, where do we go for our mayor is hosting a self-defense class or whatever. If you take those same scared faces, then all of a sudden relationship is built, then trust is built, and then that fear would go away. So then all of a sudden, if you see a scuffle with kids not using their time wisely or hanging out or being ridiculous, you don't automatically go to your gun, and we don't automatically have another morning of another life lost stupidly because of fear. So, and I just wanted this one last thing, because I don't know if I'm over my 4 minutes, but it's awesome to know this. My son that Barack Obama reloaded, remember that name, Christopher Mitchell, he's gonna be your president one day. But he was put on he came to the Civilian Complaint Review Board's Youth Advisory Council because a phenomenal police detective, my sister, Detective Shantae Neal Baker, known as Miss Sunshine throughout all 5 boroughs, told him about it. She said, we need somebody like you helping to police us, because you can see someone in uniform loves you, yet I got into uniform because I'm growing up in Brooklyn and I'm profiled, and it was just an ugly exchange between me and an officer, and I decided to become an officer so that when people who see me can say, I'm building relationship, I'm building trust again, and I'm healing myself in the process because I was hurt by the uniform. So she is the one who introduced him to the CCRB. And so when he began to serve, he served as someone who loves an officer, but someone who wants to hold the officers accountable. Thank you.
I remember Chris and his performance. And where's he in school now?
Okay.
Is that enough for you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
It's gonna be,
I got a big mouth.
working with that founding board of youth.
Youth Advisory Council.
And he has a full scholarship now, study abroad. He's gonna be in DC on the Supreme Court floor doing oral arguments. So he's on his way. I'm sorry. I'm so excited, but he's in New York going through, he's gonna be reconnecting with the board and hopefully back at the next leadership gathering. But I'm excited for the young leaders in the room that are gonna be coming forward and joining the board too. I can feel it.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Yes.
Hi, my name's Michelle Mosley. I am a member of UNCA, one of the oldest civic associations in Southeast Queens, 1954. Tell you how long it's been. I just have a question and I have a response. The question is, if somebody wants to make a complaint, is there a time frame? Because I had a neighbor of mine that got into a situation and the police, it just got escalated and she wound up being arrested. They never fed her. And she wound up having to go to the hospital because she's a diabetic. It just really snowballed into something that didn't really need to happen. So is there a time frame that she can make a complaint?
There's a statute of limitations for discipline matters against members of the NYPD and all civil servants that's set by state law at 18 months, a year and a half from the date of the incident. When we get complaints that are more than a year since the date of the incident, we look at them very hard to make sure that we can actually get them investigated in time. And if it is going to go over, we might then look to see if there's an exception to the statute of limitations. So if it's between a year and 18 months, there is a possibility that we might not investigate it. We do it on a case-by-case basis. Okay, then he should file a complaint and we would investigate that.
Okay. And then my second statement is that how many people know what their precinct is? 103rd or the 113 or the 105? You know, how many of you ever attended their community precinct council meeting? Okay, the 113 meets on the third Monday of every month between the winter's hours. The summers, they don't meet. And then I believe the 103 meets. Those are where you can get your questions about things happening in your community and get some answers from the precinct commanders or the sergeants on there. So you might want to look into when those meetings are and probably want to attend them.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment.
Yeah, short, right? Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And I guess she just speak for me there. I'm the president of the 113 Precinct Community Council. My name is Garfield Taulo. And the reason I get up because I heard people talk about police engagement, and I could speak on police engagement and also this young man with that situation. Like she just said, our meeting is every third Monday. Right now, we out for the summer break, and we back in session for September meeting. I'm saying that we talk about police engagement, apparently that the community is not getting engaged with the police, because if you look at tomorrow, we have camp in the park. Next 2 weeks, we have National Night Out. In August, we have a Unity March coming down the boulevard. So there are a lot of engagement also. Young women not know we have a black command officer at the 113 precinct. I know. We have, I don't care numbers now, but we have the majority of black officers at the 113. The whole complete community affairs is all black. So it's obvious that you need to get engaged with the precinct. Is an open door policy that he have there, and anyone could come and talk with the precinct commander. Also, like she said, the meetings are every third Monday. You could always reach out to me. If you go on the 113 precinct committee Facebook, you could see also who you could make contact to. You could leave your complaint there. You also have a form. If you leave your email, we have a form that we fill out. It's called complaint, but it's we want to use the right word. It's saying it's I don't want to say complaint, but I want to say the issue form, I should say, that you could respond to the community affairs and they would address your issue that you're dealing with. So I just want to say that because I know that we talk about this police engagement, and I could tell you right now, I spent 1 year at the precinct, 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, just to see what goes on. I could tell you it is getting better, the engagement with the police officer. If you look at it, we have something called greeter program, that the greeter, they'll have to see, they get to the greeter before they even get to the officer. So things are getting better. That's most I could say right now, based on the engagement of the police and the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment and for reminding us when when the police community council meets.
Every third Monday of the month, you could reach out to me. I could give you the information, and you would get the email coming to you with the location, because we are moving around to different locations. So it not be one location every month. We're back in session on September. So my email is gfield128@ol.com. Also, my cell phone number is 347. Oh. Okay.
Love and blessings, everyone. My name is Carolyn Dixon. I'm a survivor. The name of my organization is called Where Do We Go From Here? I work closely with Life Camp, and for the last couple of days, I've been working closely with AU. My question to the CCRB is mainly to touch bases on survivors, victims of gun violence. Once we hit the hospital, there is complication, heated situations, and most families, especially parents, are treated as not victims, but the perpetrators themselves. And I wanted to know if we're going through this as victims and survivors of gun violence, where do CCRB step in? And then my second question is that right now, AU and I are working with a client who had got shot a week ago, I believe, on Sufton and South Road. This man came out of the hospital with an open wound. He got shot in his chest. He got shot in his stomach. His stomach is open. I don't know the correct name of this squad, but it's the drug squad, jumped out on him. There is a video where this man was sitting in his car, and about 10 or 12 police officers jumped on this man, busted open stitches, and now he's on Rikers Island. And I wanted to know, where can we use CCRB in this situation?
John, respond to the two of them first of all, and I also want to say thank you for your incredible work. The fact that you're there for the communities and particularly for the parents, we just really appreciate you.
So I'm going to answer your second question first. With regard to the particular individual, you can file a complaint with the agency on his behalf. And so once you file the complaint, and we have our investigators here, you could do that tonight. We will begin contact attempts to reach him. If he is facing criminal charges, his attorney might not let him speak to us yet. And so we might not be able to conduct the investigation until after the criminal charges he's facing are determined. But the sooner you contact us, the sooner we can get the process started. The second issue with survivor family members of people who have been shot by the police, who have been shot, period, victims of gun violence, if they are treated disrespectfully by the police, that is within our jurisdiction. And if you file a complaint, if they file a complaint, or if you become aware of it and you wish to file a complaint on their behalf, we will investigate it and look and determine whether in fact there was misconduct. And if there was misconduct, recommend discipline for the member of service.
Please. And you had a comment as well.
Yeah, just want everyone to know, Ms. Dixon, when she said she's a survivor, on May 5th, a few years ago, her son was shot and killed right off of Sufton Boulevard. And from that moment, Ms. Carolyn Dixon has been an advocate for gun violence and also gun violence awareness. And I just think, her and I have been working on this particular case the last 4 days, because there's a pattern when someone is shot in our community, the police come to individuals and treat the individuals as he or she's the one that shot themselves. And I'm glad the meeting is very inspirational today, but there's a lot of real stuff that's going on in 113th, 103rd, 105th precinct, 102nd precinct that we need to be aware of in order for us to stop, because Garfield, that's my dude right there. And Garfield is 4 days, 4 hours down at the precinct, but the engagement that we're looking for is for young people so they can identify the possibilities of how real policing is. Police officers come with a particular implicit bias where for no reason, not even knowing why, they are prejudiced when they come into our communities. So when young Josh, who works for Life Camp Inc., and believe me, for 1 year, him being a hospital responder, we should clap it up, because him articulating his first time and the work that he's done, being caught up in that trauma, let's give him a clap, please, for us. And just 2 more seconds. And I want us to know that this is young people. When I was Josh's age at 28. I was not forced that my best friend could be shot and killed on a daily basis. And when he termed public housing as public housing and it's not as public project, it's that our young people really have the intellect to articulate their positions, but they don't have the support from us as a community at large and the resources that they need to be sufficient and productive. And let's just help the young people out more, and let's be more realistic about what's happening. We're not here to beat up cops, or to say, to point fingers at cops, but we're here to be accountable, to make them. My job at Life Camp, I'm the chief of streets, and most of my interactions are with inspectors and chiefs of the boroughs. And I say to them, yes, we need to be held accountable, because I'm not gonna, if I drive down and break the law by driving, the most I'll probably do is drive 2 miles above the speed limit. And if I get pulled over, I can't, because I'm a friend, be freed from either incarceration or a particular ticket that I might get. It's just about police accountability. And that's all we're asking for and we're all talking about. And I'm sorry if you don't know, like the sister said, her son did such an articulate job. They should know very young about what the CCRB does. And that way the young people can start gearing this and making our jobs easier. Because believe me, it's not easy to sit up here at all, because we try to make sure that when I look at the chair and the work that she has to do, work with the different entities and agencies, and to bring by each month some kind of resolve about what happens to us as a people. And believe it's happening to us as a people.
I was glad you brought it back to what Josh said earlier, because I've been kicking myself while I've been sitting here that I didn't address one of the things he brought up. And one of the things Josh brought up was that he perceived a lack of representation and in the NYPD, and he had questions about the hiring practices. And we can't really control the NYPD's hiring practices, but the CCRB is hiring. As we said, the city council and the administration restored the budget cuts and actually gave us additional funds. And so we are going to be hiring more investigators and more outreach folks. And so I encourage I might be trying to steal Josh from you, but I encourage Josh, and I encourage you to not only look for yourself, but tell your friends. Like, we're hiring and we're looking for good people who know the community that we live in. It starts at 45.
That's great. Don't front.
46. I didn't mean to lowball anybody.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, AU, and thank you for reminding the community of some of the job possibilities that are available at CCRB. Sir, if you can approach the podium. Good evening.
My name is Steve Leland. I'm a member of the South Jamaica Queens community. And my question is kind of piggybacking off of the gentleman, Mike. So you go to the police when you have a problem. The police is supposed to police the community, right? So we go to them to get help and these different organizations. What happens when they don't have an answer? And we come to these meetings and then certain people direct us to other people, and then it winds up nothing happens. With the smoke shops, I'm ready to go in there and, excuse my language, but I'm ready to shut them down, bust their ass, because they shouldn't be there. But the thing we're supposed to do is rely on the police to handle the situation. Then what happens when they don't do it either? Everybody passes it off to someone else. What are we to do? Am I supposed to because if I go in there and shut them down, I'm going to jail. You're going to come for that, but you're not going to address the problem. These marijuana situations is out of hand. Somebody's going to get hurt or die. They shouldn't have to wait until that happens for something to be done. So when you pass off, you tell us that somebody is going to check into it or Can we make sure something happens?
Police isn't about policing, but actually they're supposed to serve and protect.
Right.
And so I think that with this, right, so I think that it's about accountability for that service is what you're asking for.
Right.
And also for the protection, no matter the zip code that you live in. I just didn't want that to, one said.
But I think one of the issues with the marijuana shops in particular is as the law changed, and the assembly member left, so I apologize to him if I may be throwing him under the bus, but the law changed and there is a gap. And so when you're saying, why can't I go to someone and have them resolve it for me? It is because there is a gap, which has made it very tough for the city administration to address these issues. So, if someone had been selling marijuana illegally 2 years ago, the police were the right people to go to. But now we're talking about a matter of taxes and licenses. It's not a penal law crime, and it's not a police issue. And so that's that. And so when you're not getting a straight answer, and I would much prefer to give you a straight answer, we don't know. And it's not like the CCRB doesn't know. I think the city as a whole is looking for an answer on who is responsible.
Landlord doesn't care.
But
They should be fine.
But again, it's a larger issue than just they're selling marijuana. It is a different situation than it was 2 years ago, and people are still trying to figure out the way to address it. So that's why you're not getting straight answers when you go to people, because no one has the answer to give you.
So do we need to take matters in our own hand? Because it could be done.
No, I don't think you should. That is not what I'm saying, but I'm saying it is a legislative thing that needs to get fixed.
And I don't want to sound like that's the best thing to do, because I know it's not.
All right, look, the last 3 years, is Father Live in the hood still here? They left, okay, Kenny must have left, and for 3 years, we were on a debate, and I was part of that tour about legalizing marijuana. Some of y'all might see me being crazy about not legalizing it, because I knew what was going to happen to our community. I've seen heroin, I've seen dope, I've seen crack. I lived in those eras. They didn't benefit us, all right? And so to legalize something, to legalize a substance, I'm just do real quick about this, right? And this is what I want Steve and Mike, I want y'all to understand that, right? We're gonna have to be patient, all right? That's what we're gonna have to be, Steve, all right? I speak to you a lot.
It's hard.
Steve, just wait. We have to be patient. We'll talk later on after we get here, because I don't want anybody to go out and do anything that gonna ask the old man for some bail money, all right? I have no bail money, all right? I know you, Steve, all right? So what we have to do as men in our community is come together with a real strategy to think and then go. And if we go to 90 doors and they don't have the answer, we go to the 91st door. And be patient until somebody has the answer. Because right now, as the executive director said, the city doesn't have the answer. But there was this push by both community and elected officials to legalize this, okay? I'm not gonna get into why, okay? I hope y'all know why, right? We didn't push it at all. Yes. We definitely didn't, And Black Spectrum Theater was the last 4 places that we had this particular debate at. And we really articulated about the information that was coming down, and it was too fast. That the people that made it trending was 14 and 15, 16 years old, and people that are not even legally going to be able to smoke it anyway. 21 and over, no federal subsidized housing living, not in the public, unless there's a public space that is designated. So there's so many intangibles into that law, right, John? That to smoke it, you have to be a very different kind of person. You have to be privileged somewhere. So let's really just talk later, all right? All right, brother? You know, and I know you came to the office a few times and we tried to do what we could do, but our hands are tied. The city doesn't know. And I don't want us to belabor it here because we don't have the answer. And not that we shouldn't have it, but the city doesn't have it and neither do we. All right, let's talk later.
Hey, you.
Good morning. All the children are.
Yes.
And they're going to school, 13, 14, 15 years old. I've been celebrating
Hold on.
with stuff in the corner, selling cigarettes and saying you must have an ID to sell cigarettes. I just went to buy, it's what you call it? It's a cough syrup and they asked me for an ID. They said they cannot sell it without an ID. So why is it our children are left to be smoking, some of them 13, 14. What is the smoke? What is the age to start smoking in our community or in New York State?
You said the age?
Yes.
Well, the legal age would be 21.
But you know something?
15, 16-year kids?
Yeah.
And they have an answer. So we need to save our children by they need to have some sort of an observation happening. You just go on the bus in the morning and you can start to see the children.
All right, thank you.
It's crazy.
Thank you, and I understand the concern, but as we've heard from our executive director and also from AU, this is an issue that is outside of our jurisdiction, but it's one that is certainly of concern to all community members. And so, did you have more comment?
I was just gonna say that. I just hope that no one has to die behind this.
Yes.
Because it's happening too much.
Yeah, few times.
Got in contact with news media. Start that ball rolling. Maybe media will put the pressure on the mayor and find out how we can get some.
It is a state issue, but like I said, Gail Brewer at the city council is taking this up as well. So we can further the conversation, but I'm going to ask for the next speaker if they can come to the podium. Thank you.
Yeah.
How y'all doing? My name is Bilal Kareem from Community Board 12. AU, how you doing? Thank y'all for coming out. I'm not gonna bust y'all chops. I just want to know if y'all willing to work with me. I'll work directly with y'all to connect y'all with community-based organizations, schools, and so forth. But I want to know if y'all willing to come out. And on top of that, and this should be standing room only. A lot of people don't know about this organization. I'm pretty sure you heard that many, many times. So like I said, I'm willing to extend myself, work with you, get you out in the community, but I need to know if you're willing to come out so that people can see you, you can explain what your organization do, so that way we can empower people, because there's a lot of people I know who need to be here, who could benefit from you. Thank you.
Thank you. And hopefully we've been clear that the answer to that is yes. But can you say your name one more time? Bilal Kareem. Okay. Oh, great. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rabbi Garth Marchant. I happen to be liaison with the Borough Command of NYPD. And of course, there are some problems with police officers who do bad things, and that's why I'm glad you're there. However, I want to tell you that in South Queens Borough Patrol, we're trying to resolve those issues. We have a very good commander, Commander Williams, and we have some very new commanders in the 113 precinct, Commander Jenkins, which we work with very carefully. Like, for example, today we had a picnic for all the children in the park. It was overcrowded. And we have the Explorers program. We have all those programs. And I want to tell you, the commander for the 113 precinct and Commander Williams don't tolerate no abuse by police officers. They discipline them. I've seen it. And also, I want to tell you, for the community, I am a graduate of the police academy, Citizen Police Academy. Some of us need to go to the Citizen Police Academy. You know what I do as a graduate of the Citizen Police Academy? I do patrol with the police officers, sector officers. I take the young people and I walk with them with the police officers, and they have a cell phone, and I let the police, the young people get the phone number for the police officers if they have a problem. And I take some of those gang members, you know what I do? I take them into the precinct and I introduce them to the officers. So we have to be proactive. You know what I mean? We can't just sit back and say, this is happening, this is happening. We got to help our kids. Because today, you know what I did right there where the police was? I registered over 50 students to go to college for free in the State University of New York. That's what we have to do. We got to be proactive. But I'm glad you're there because no, you have bad doctors, bad every profession, right? And so you were there as the last resort if there is that, and you're doing a good job if there is any problem with the police. I want to congratulate you for what you do, but at the same time, we have to understand that we got to work with the police because they're the last resort in our community. And I want to say this community is doing a very good job with the officers that we have and with the command that we have. And you got to look at Chief Williams. He's a very great guy, and he makes sure that our community is not abused. So I just want to bring that to your attention.
Thank
Thank-
you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, so my name is Angel Vassal, mother of three. I'm a hairstylist. I have a 16-year-old, 13-year-old, and a 3-year-old. My 13-year-old, I moved here like 7 years ago. My 13-year-old started Success Academy when we just moved here. He went there for 5 years. A day, I'm gonna cut it short. I had to pull him from Success Academy because the principal locked him out because he was 5 minutes late. I changed school. He went to PS 116 down the block. His second day, he was bullied. I went to the school. I spoke to the parent coordinator. There was no principal at the time. It was an assistant principal, and she wasn't on the compound at the time when I went there. So I spoke to the parent coordinator. She said, it's 2 kids. They have been troubled in the school from ever since they had calmed down, but now they on the rise again. So apparently my son, because he just started his second day, he was bullied, jumped, faced a lot of physical fight. On his 4th day, he went back to school. He called me because I give him a phone. He called me, said, "Mommy, they did it again." I went there. On my way going there, I said, "Okay, I'm gonna wait on you outside and I'll go around to see if I could speak to someone from inside again." On my way out, on their way out, I saw them coming out. So I picked my son. On my way going around, I saw that my son, like, "Mommy, there he is, he's following me." So I went up to him and I said, what is it with you and my son? He said, "Mom, coming to school, coming to pick you up because I would like to speak to your mom." He was like, "Oh no, my mom don't want to speak to you. My mom, don't speak to me, don't speak to me." Story short, on my way going around, I saw the mom coming up. So that was one of them. She came to me, she asked me what happened. I was explaining to her. While we're there talking, I see the other kid mom coming. She just came up in my face. I was on the school premises, came up in my face. "What are you going to do with my kid? What are you going to?" And she punched me, and it started a fight. My 3-year-old was there at the time. He was 2. He started crying. We all started crying. And the reason I'm like this now is because nothing came from it. I called the police, I made the reports. They called me, I explained what happened. They speak to the coordinator. The coordinator said, "You gotta lock up that lady because this has been going on for too long." She spoke to the police. She gave them everything that needed. The principal called me, so they said they're gonna have to do what you call it, a transfer, emergency transfer for my son. They can't do anything about the kid. They can't transfer him from the kid, from the school or anything. It's my kid have to get transferred. So they transfer my son now to PS 208. Now, he been taking the school bus then. Now he's going on to 7th grade, and now he's going to be dropped off the school bus. He's like, "Mommy, what if I'm going on the school bus and I see this kid again? What am I going to do?" So, he's worried. and he's frustrated going to school publicly now because the school bus no longer gonna take him to school. So I don't know. That young lady have never get arrested. Nothing came from it. So I'm wondering if there's any help in this room that can assist me in moving forward so that my son can feel safe going to school.
Vassell? Ms. Vassell? Ms. Vassell? Ms. Vassell, thank you for sharing that with us. And I want you to know, I know that there's people that are here in this room that are going to work hard in order to provide you with the help and support in order to deal with your son. Okay? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. My name is Amir with Councilmember Natasha Williams' office. The council member asked me to give regards in her absence. I do want to acknowledge the very difficult job the CCRB does in helping support our law enforcement. We do need someone to hold them accountable, and you guys have a tremendous responsibility on your shoulders, and you do a great job of executing that responsibility. The city council is working diligently to get you the resources and the jurisdiction you need to do even more. I want us all to just take a moment to acknowledge the fact that if you throw a stone outside of New York City and find any jurisdiction anywhere, the opportunity to get justice from an independent body just doesn't exist. Nassau County, Westchester County, this is a unique organization that sets an example, and I just want to compliment them on that example. I also want to particularly highlight Jahai Rose, your Director of Community Outreach, who's done a tremendous job pulling community members in this conversation. There's always more to be done, but I just wanted to acknowledge the great work he's done so far and all the great work you guys have done as well on behalf of the council member. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment.
My name is Michelle Keller. I'm the first Vice President of Community Board 12. And as the chair said, I am a retired detective, second grade, and I did 21 years. And it's nice to see that you are out here to listen to the public, but I'm a little disturbed because I would have liked to hear your statistics as to how many police officers have been reprimanded, whether they lost time or what have you. I myself one time was in a situation with a police officer. I was on duty. It was a highway cop. And he pulled us over. We were just finishing a resident check because I worked in applicant processing division. And I went to show him in my utility belt, I'm on the job. My partner had his badge out, and the highway officer went to pull his gun. And I filed a complaint with CCRB, and nothing came. Now, the community needs your sympathy. You have to be empathetic. And if you've never experienced anything, and how could you really understand what the community is going through? Now, to the young man from Camp Life, wanting to know about how you can get into the police department, because a lot of stuff came today, and it was good, but it wasn't really directed towards CCRB. A lot of times, they're protected, the police officers, whether it's through the COs or higher up. And people don't have that vote of confidence. And as far as people coming on the job, you don't have to have ever worked as long as you don't have any real blemishes. You could have been a mother living in a housing development, never worked a day in your life and apply. And as long as there's nothing bad in your background, you can become a police officer. Now, I'm a little befuddled about how policing is going on today, because when I was on patrol, you saw police officers. You saw them in their cars, sector cars. Now they come, they can't do anything. Whenever you ask them, if you call them about a landlord tenant, there's nothing they can do. Anything, nothing they can do. Talking about, what's that when you hang on the corner, loitering. There ain't nothing you can do unless someone is some kind of physical interaction. Now, I hope that at this era, that y'all are a lot more powerful to do things to police officers who are bad. I came through when 113, I worked in 113, 105, 106, 103, all of that. When the 103 was bad, the 113 was becoming bad, trying to follow the 77th precinct. So now I hope, you know, Miss Esmeralda, you were there for a long time. A lot of you don't know her. We got 4 of you Esquires on the board. Hopefully that it will be more powerful because you're appointed by mayors and whomever elected officials. We need more people coming out of the community like AU. We need other people coming out, especially particularly people like myself who worked in the department, Michelle Mosley, Colleen Thorpes, but we can't get on this board. So I don't know really how effective you're going to be. I don't want nobody to tell me thank you for the many years you put on in the street. And I don't need that. I need you to show us statistically what's going on and how these police officers, bad police officers, are being reprimanded. If they have to be fired or suspended, you go in there, sometimes officers are sitting behind a desk because their investigation is going on for however long, you know? So I hope things get better with CCRB. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keller. Could I respond to her question, to her some of the issues that she raised? First of all, I wanted to let you know that through legislation that recently passed with 5A, we are able to have statistics on the CCRB website. So at any given point in time, you can go on and log on and see all of the reports on the cases that have been brought before us, the recommendations that we made, the times that we made recommendations, and the police commissioner agreed with it or did not agree with it, and the letters that they sent back saying why they did not concur with what we had given to them. So that is now all public information, and it has not always been public information. So just so you know, that is on the CCRB website, and you can access it. It's sure. I just wanted to let you know that it was available, and then I'm going to turn it over to John to speak more specifically about that. And if there's people that are interested in serving on this board, you can speak to either your city council member or you can, if you have a connection with the mayor directly. We're all appointed to these positions, and so if you're interested in.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want my, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
This is when I did them.
Yeah, so. Sure, sure. And part of the reason why we're here is kind of to dispel some of the things that may be prevailing and also to tell you those things that have evolved. So the CCRB that you interacted with when you were in the police department is different than the one that's here now, right? Exactly, exactly. But thank you for your comments. I do appreciate them. Yes.
Question, are you still able to go online and see, like, say, Officer Joe Schmo, you can check and see how many times he was in front of the CCRB and how many times it was substantiated? So you could just look up for officer and find out.
So if you go to our website, you can not only see the statistics for the agency for the year and past years, but you can also look up individual officers. You can also look up by command. So if you wanted to see the officers in your local precinct and see how their CCRB histories were, you could do that. In 2023 so far, the CCRB has substantiated at least one allegation against 525 members of service. That is roughly on pace with 2022, in which the board substantiated allegations of misconduct against 1,027 police officers. There is a delay in between when the board recommends discipline and when the police department actually imposes discipline. So when I am giving you the statistics for discipline, it is not for the people who were disciplined, where the board recommended discipline in this year, because those cases are still in front of the police commission. For the cases that were not charges cases, so either the board recommended a command discipline or training, the police department concurred with, the police department issued discipline 46% of the time. For charges cases, the police department concurred with our recommendation 61% of the time.
No, thank you. It's a good recommendation.
May I?
Mhm.
We have been advocating to have the final say, final disciplinary authority for this board, rather than having all the investigations, all the work, all the charges go to the police department, and then come back with, most of the time, 50-50 or less of our recommendations for discipline be adhered to. That's the way it stands right now. We would like your support to all your elected officials, state included, but particularly city, to have the CCRB be the final arbiter of discipline against police officers. There's going to be a big pushback, for that, and some people like it exactly the way it is. So you make your complaints, and 50% of the time, and those are the cases that we found something happened. No, this is higher than the community board. Thank God for the community board. City council, the mayor, the assembly, the governor. There's a big pushback against this. They like it the way it is. Too long. This is what's important. Now I'm on a soapbox. Your coming out is what's important. The folks up here, we get to do the cases, we get to listen to the tapes or view the video. Not pleasant, by the way. But your coming out and the community getting organized is more important than what we do. When you get organized, this will change.
And with that said, is there anyone else in the room who wanted to? No? Okay. Is there?
That's great.
Do we have any more comment from the community? One more comment.
Blah, what you say?
Have the same power as the Justice Center
They do the investigation.
when they do the investigations. They don't know who they are.
Pretty much the Justice Center.
The mic.
Sorry. Pretty much the Justice Center, they investigate allegations when there's abuse in like group homes or young people with mental health. I think, yeah, so I think they should look at that model and consider giving y'all the same power. Say it again.
That's because there are social workers involved, there are group home workers involved, not NYPD officers. That's the difference. I agree with you completely. I agree with you.
They don't really come to them for advice and so forth. They do their own private investigation, then they make a decision. Yeah.
Industry. And
I think they
prefer
should,
industry.
yeah, I think for future reference, they should pretty much see that structure and monitor it and give y'all the same power. Thank you.
Put it on the ballot.
Ms. Ketchum, did you have another comment?
Record a request for quarterly meetings in each borough in Queens. I know monthly might be too much, but quarterly or at least bi-yearly. They said you're only going to come to Queens once a year?
We go to all 5 boroughs, and then we also have meetings in our office downtown in downtown Manhattan.
Queens. You know, Queens is so far from all the other boroughs, especially Southeast Queens is at the farthest tip, almost Long Island. So I'm putting in on the record request for at least quarterly meetings. I think that's doable. Or even a small committee, not the whole group, but maybe like 3 or 4, so that we could invite people on a regular basis.
Ms. Ketchum, your request is received, and if you can step to the mic as well, just because there's people who are listening online and they can't necessarily hear you if you speak in the auditorium.
In regards to her statement about having you come out quarterly, but there are opportunities for members of the board to come to some of our community meetings. It doesn't have to be the whole board, but maybe one of you could come to a civic association meeting to represent the organization, or come to some of the clubs in the community to represent to tell us to, to make, so we can continue to be informed about your activities and what you do. The other thing I wanted to comment on, as far as police officers and their offenses against the citizens, they was trying to block that the public will not be able to access their record, their disciplinary record. Now, is that going forward, or you won the case? Because I know when the member mentioned that, it appears that he was unaware that we now can go online and go on your website and get the history of the person's disciplinary actions. All right, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
By the way.
Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. Do we have any other comments from the community? All right, thank you so much. Do we have any old business to come before the board? Any old business? Wait, did I miss something?
Is there an online? There's an online,
Ah.
online speaker.
Yahira, do we have somebody online?
First, we'll be hearing from Judy Ortiz.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. This is about when people file FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Law. A lot of people have said to me that sometimes when they filed it, they will get a runaround because it will take 6 months. And by the time that came back, the a lot of the data or the things would be missing, like the video, also the video camera be broken or something. Have you heard about complaints about that?
To make sure that we heard your comment. You were talking about people filing a complaint, but before they can file the complaint, there's problems with the video or the video is missing. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, FOIA request. When they file a FOIA request, it looks like police don't like that. And a couple of people mentioned about it, a FOIA request, like Freedom of Information Law. So when there was one guy that said it took 6 months until he kept going back and forth because if you got to keep asking what's going on with that, and I think that's a lot of problems. Because I know Jahai a long time when he was in a SEEK program in York College. Yeah. And he's the one that told me about this thing today. Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello, I'm one of the board members. I'm just trying to understand your question. Are you
Yeah.
saying that New Yorkers are going to try to get FOIL information by FOIL so they can
Yeah.
file a complaint with
Yeah.
CCRB?
Yeah, with the against the police department.
That
But the
you should
guy
file a
tried,
complaint with us,
yeah,
and then
first.
we'll do the investigation.
Okay. Because this guy
Um,
was getting around
you know,
about that.
it's not necessary for the citizen to come to the CCRB with all the information. We
Yeah.
can get that easier than you can.
And also, I know New York Communities for Change. I know Deshaun Burrows from New York Communities for Change.
I understand what you're saying.
So, man, you don't need to know anyone. You just need to file a complaint with us, and then we do the investigation.
Yeah. So
So-
CCRB is what people have to go to.
Yes,
Look
ma'am.
into it. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
You're
Yahira is telling me that the next person on the line is Tanya Cruz. Ms. Cruz?
Thank you for coming to Southeast Queens, and this has been very robust. I currently serve on the Queens Traffic Safety Board, as well as Community Board 13. I also am a member of the Motorcycle Advisory Council, led by DOT and NYPD for over 8 years. I am also a motorcycle rider for over 35 years. So tonight I just wanted to get in, an idea from the CCRB regarding some things that we are seeing now with the proliferation of two-wheel vehicles. So back in June of 2021, we, Chief Oyster actually did an intimate motorcycle engagement for key police officers, and we conducted it here in Southeast Queens. And we saw that we had a person from the Transportation Bureau. We also had somebody from Queens South. We had three of the following: the 103, 105, 113, and we also had a police officer that demanded to come from Brooklyn, precinct 72. So my question and statement has more to do with your second about how major police can do better community relations. Back on May 24th, I'm not sure if you guys have seen the viral where a police officer was trying to, I guess, get the electric moped off of a particular highway, which is not allowed. But what he did was really put this operator in danger. And every time he was cutting him off, it's viewed in transportation safety and vehicle and the VTLs of New York State that that was attempted murder. So I did personally reach out to the mayor and back to my Transportation Bureau. So what we see now is Eric did get back in touch with me within 4 hours. I appreciated it. And the inspector at the Transportation Bureau actually got back to me in 2 hours. Now, I want everybody to know I reached out to these two individuals at 2 in the morning. So we're saying 5:30 NYPD came in. At 7 o'clock, the mayor actually returned my text. So what we look at is there's going to be an investigation of these individuals. There's disciplinary, he's been suspended. That I can understand. I'll file the actual complaint with CCRB on behalf of the rider, but there's a bigger problem here. The problem is the police officers are not trained. So I go back to that 2021 when we brought a master trainer. We only have a few in the United States, and we have one that resides in Dutchess County. She came down, she explained, even talking about pulling over a motorcycle or two-wheel, or the capabilities that people think that these instruments have. And the skill level is like close to zero. The fatalities are up on motorcycles. And now I heard somebody talk about the proliferation of ATVs and dirt bikes. She should be glad to know that your mayor actually spoke out on it at Hot 97 just yesterday, saying, we need to get a park. We need to put people that want to speed in a park to get it out their system. So that's a movement after knowing him 30 years to actually see him come and say that we're moving where we need to move. However, the police officers are not trained to deal with these vehicles on the road. So are they going to get a pass on the CCRB level because they wasn't trained, because the patrol book doesn't speak to it? Or will they be held accountable for the basic VTL laws, which is attempted murder? Just asking, because I do like that mediation thing, because I could probably train these officers. But that's my statement. Any response?
It's unclear to me whether or not the CCRB has an investigation here because we are not part of the police department.
I know you don't.
If
Mhm.
either the operator of the two-wheeled vehicle had filed a complaint with us, or anyone else who viewed the video filed a complaint with us, then we would pursue a separate investigation from the NYPD.
Right. And so you guys don't take anything.
NYPD has already conducted an investigation and has suspended the officer that you're referring to pending the outcome of their investigation.
Correct.
But that is separate from a CCRB investigation. And if you either have filed or would like to file a complaint with the CCRB, we would look at it, see if it was within our jurisdiction, and if it is, investigate the matter.
Okay. But do you guys also follow the VTLs of New York State?
We look at the patrol guide and we look at the laws of New York State and the Constitution of the United States and New York State when determining whether a member of service acted appropriately.
Right. Are you guys also, when we talk about mediation, have the capabilities of understanding that some police officers are bad, as you heard earlier, but some police officers just lack training and they're operating out of fear or anger, road rage?
Thank you very much for your comment, Ms. Cruz. We appreciate it. And thank you to our executive director for his response. I just wanted to double check again to make sure that we do not have any more comments from anyone here in the room and or online before we move on with the meeting. Okay, hearing none. Do we have any old business to come before the board? Do we have any new business to come before the board? Hearing none, I'm going to move now that we break into executive session, and the agenda for the executive session is the board will receive an update from the general counsel on litigation, and the executive director will discuss pending personnel issues and discuss board member training. I'd like to call this meeting to a close. Do I have a second? Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
So moved. The
Okay, close.
July meeting of the CCRB is concluded. Thank you.